After 21 years, Mozilla has finally fixed a bug that brings Firefox into compliance with the XDG standard on Linux systems. 21 years. To give you an idea, when this bug was opened, Facebook didn't exist yet, Ubuntu hadn't seen the light of day, and Linus Torvalds still had dark hair. But what exactly is this XDG Base Directory Specification? Why is it so important? And why did it take more than 2 decades to fix this problem? Today, I'm telling you the story of a standard that tried to bring order to the chaos of Linux home directories. It's a story of vision, resistance, and the slow but steady march towards sanity in software development. Let's jump back to the early 2000s. Open your home directory on Linux, and what do you find? A disaster. Dozens, sometimes hundreds of files and folders starting with a dot. Mozilla, .config, .cache, .local, .thunderbird, .bvim, .bash history, .adobe, .java, .python history. An endless list. Every application independently decided where to save its configuration files, caches, and data. There was no consistency whatsoever. Some used a single hidden directory, others created multiple ones. Some mixed configurations and cache in the same place. It was the Wild West. And here's a fun fact. The convention of using a dot to hide files wasn't even intentional. It was a bug in early Unix systems that became a feature. Rob Pike, one of the Unix pioneers, later called it a mistake that we've been living with ever since. But the problem wasn't just aesthetic. This anarchy made it difficult to make selective backups. Want to back up your configurations but not your cache? Good luck sorting through hundreds of dot directories. Want to synchronize your settings between your laptop and desktop? You'd better hope you remember which directories matter. And what about cleaning up? Your home directory could easily balloon to gigabytes of cached data, but deleting the wrong directory could wipe out years of carefully crafted configurations. Some applications didn't even document where they stored their files. In 2003, the freedesktop.org project, an initiative to standardize desktop technologies on Linux, decided to tackle the problem. The project brought together developers from different desktop environments who were tired of reinventing the wheel. Thus was born the XDG Base Directory Specification, first published in its initial form in 2003. XDG stands for X Desktop Group, the original name of the freedesktop.org project, which at the time focused primarily on technologies related to the X11 graphical server. The name stuck even after the project's scope expanded far beyond X11. The underlying idea was simple but revolutionary. Define a set of standard directories where applications should save different types of data. No more chaos in the home directory, but a logical and organized structure. But here's what's interesting. The XDG specification wasn't just about directories. It was part of a larger vision to make Linux desktops more coherent and user-friendly. The same group was working on standards for desktop entries, application menus, file associations, and more. They understood that the success of Linux on the desktop required this kind of systematic thinking. The standard defines 4 main categories of directories, each with a specific purpose. And here lies the genius of the proposal. It's not just about moving files from one place to another, but logically separating data of different natures based on their life cycle and importance. Let's look at these directories in detail, because understanding the philosophy behind each one is crucial. First category, XDG Config Home. This is the directory for user configuration files. By default, it's /.config. This is where all those files that define how an application behaves go. Preferences, themes, keyboard shortcuts, custom key bindings. The key insight here is that configuration files are precious. They represent hours of customization. They're small in size but high in value. They should be included in backups and can be safely synchronized between different machines. Think of them as the DNA of your application setup. Second category, XDG Data Home. This is where application data goes. By default, /.local/share. Think of local databases, application state files, user-installed plugins, email archives, contact lists. This is distinct from configuration because it's often larger and more machine-specific. For example, a mail client might store its configuration in /.config, but the actual emails go in /.local/share. You want to back up both, but you might not want to sync gigabytes of email between machines. Third category, XDG Cache Home, which defaults to /.cache. This is where all those temporary files that speed up the application but can be recreated go. Image thumbnails, browser caches, compiled bytecode, temporary compilation files, downloaded package lists. The philosophy here is simple. If you delete this directory, you shouldn't lose any data. The application might be slower at the next startup while it rebuilds its caches, but nothing permanent is lost. This makes it safe to regularly clean up to free disk space. Fourth category, XDG Runtime Dir. This was added later, in 2010, because the original spec was missing something. It's a directory for temporary files that only exist during the user's session. Unix sockets, named pipes, lock files, session-specific IPC mechanisms. What makes this special is that it's guaranteed to be on a local file system, has strict permission requirements, only the user can access it, and is automatically cleaned up when you log out. It's typically mounted as a TMPFS, meaning it lives in RAM for maximum speed. Each directory can be customized through environment variables, but if you don't specify anything, the standard provides reasonable default values. This means applications can simply follow the standard without requiring any user configuration. The XDG standard hasn't remained static since 2003. It has continued to evolve to respond to new needs, and this evolution tells us a lot about how Linux usage patterns have changed. One of the most significant additions was the specification for user directories, those special folders like documents, pictures, music, videos, downloads. Before XDG user DARs, every desktop environment had its own idea about these folders. GNOME called them one thing, KDE another. Some localized them, others didn't. XDG standardized this with the /.config/userders.ders file and the XDG user DERS tool. Now applications can reliably find where to save your photos or where to look for documents. It even handles localization properly. Your documents folder might be called Documenti in Italian or Documente in German, but applications can still find it. In 2011, the specification was extended to add XDG State Home, typically //.local/state. This was added because developers realized there was a category of data that didn't quite fit anywhere. Files that represent application state but aren't configuration. Think of command history files, recently used file lists, undo history, or application logs. These aren't cache because you don't want to lose them when cleaning up, but they're also not configuration because they're automatically generated. They needed their own home. The standard also defined a priority hierarchy for system directories through the XDG data DARS and XDG config DERS variables. By default, these point to places like /usr/share and /etc/xdg. This allows a cascading search, first in the user's directory, then in system ones. This is powerful for system administrators. You can install a default configuration in /xdg/appnames that applies to all users, but each user can override it by creating their own config in /.config/.appname/. It's a clean separation between system defaults and user customization. Over time, XDG has grown beyond just the base directory specification. It's become a whole ecosystem of standards that work together. There's XDG Open, a tool that opens files and URLs with the appropriate application according to XDG file associations. It's what makes open with menus work consistently across different desktop environments. There's the desktop entry specification, which defines those .desktop files that describe applications in your application menu. Every application in your launcher is represented by a desktop entry file following XDG standards. There's the icon theme specification, which explains how icon sets should be organized so that applications can find the right icon at the right size. This is why you can switch icon themes and have it work system-wide. The interesting thing is that these standards have been so successful that many Linux users don't even know they exist. They just work. You can install an application on any modern Linux distribution, and it appears in your menu with the right icon, opens the right files, and saves its data in the right place. That's XDG working behind the scenes. The adoption of the XDG standard has been gradual, very gradual, and the reasons why reveal a lot about software development and human nature. Modern desktop environments like GNOME and KDE embraced it quickly. They were at the table when the standard was being written, so this makes sense. Projects born after 2003 like Visual Studio Code, Rust tooling, and many modern development tools support it natively because for them, XDG is just how you do things on Linux. But then there's the resistance. Firefox took 21 years. Emacs still doesn't fully support it. Many popular applications like Spotify, Discord, or Steam create their own .directories in your home folder, completely ignoring XDG. Why? Historic applications with decades of life often have a codebase where changing the location of configuration files is genuinely risky. There might be hard-coded paths scattered throughout millions of lines of code. Changing them all is a massive undertaking. There's also the backward compatibility nightmare. If an application used by millions of people suddenly moves all its files, what happens? Users upgrade, the application looks for its files in the new location, doesn't find them, and starts fresh. Years of configurations, extensions, bookmarks, saved data, potentially gone. You need a careful migration strategy that handles every edge case. And here's something developers rarely talk about: cross-platform applications. If your app runs on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, supporting XDG means maintaining different code paths for Linux. Some developers decide it's not worth the complexity and just use the same approach everywhere, which usually means a .directory in your home folder. Then there are developers who simply don't know about the standard. They're new to Linux, they see other applications using .directories, and they do the same. The momentum of existing practice is powerful. The result? Even today, in 2025, if you open your home directory on Linux, you'll still find it full of .directories. It's better than 20 years ago, certainly, but the chaos hasn't completely disappeared, and it probably never will entirely. Let's return to the Firefox bug that inspired this video. Bug 259356 opened on September 13, 2004, practically 1 year after the publication of the XDG standard. The bug report was simple. Firefox should respect XDG Base Directory Specification. Why did it take 21 years? The reasons tell us a lot about the challenges of maintaining a massive cross-platform application. First, Firefox must work on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. The profile system was designed to work the same way on all platforms. Managing different paths on different platforms means special case code, which means more complexity, more potential bugs, and more maintenance burden. Then there's the question of profiles. Firefox has always had a sophisticated profile management system. You can have multiple profiles, each with its own extensions, bookmarks, and settings. The profile manager needs to know where these profiles live. Integrating XDG support means rewriting parts of this system. There were also legitimate concerns about migration. Firefox has hundreds of millions of users. Even if just 1% experience problems during migration, that's millions of people with broken browsers. The extensions ecosystem made it even more complex. What happens to extensions that hard-code paths to Firefox's profile directory? And then there's the priority issue. For Mozilla, this was never a critical bug. It didn't cause crashes. It had no security implications. It didn't affect the browsing experience. From a user-visible standpoint, whether Firefox stores its files in /.mozilla or /.cache, /Mozilla, and /.config, /Mozilla makes zero difference to 99% of users. For 21 years, there were always more important things to work on. New web standards to implement, security vulnerabilities to fix, performance improvements, new features users actually asked for. But the bug report accumulated comments over the years. Linux users who cared about system organization kept bumping it. Developers occasionally discussed it. Someone would post a patch, but it wouldn't get merged. The bug became something of a legend in certain Linux circles, a symbol of how even obvious improvements can languish for decades. Until 2025, when Mozilla finally decided the time had come. Perhaps there was a new developer who decided to champion the issue. Perhaps the migration code got easier to implement. Perhaps the priority calculation changed. We may never know the full story, but Firefox now respects the XDG standard, properly separating configurations, cache, and data. At this point, you might ask yourself, does it really matter? Aren't they just folders? Why spend 21 years arguing about where to put configuration files? Actually, XDG represents something much bigger than file organization. It's an example of how standards can bring order and coherence to an intrinsically fragmented open-source ecosystem. From a practical standpoint, the benefits are real. You can back up /.config knowing you're saving all your configurations. If you need to set up a new machine, you can copy over just that directory and have all your applications configured identically. You can delete /cache to recover space. I've seen systems with tens of gigabytes of accumulated cache without fear of losing important data. It makes synchronization between machines trivial. You can use Git, SyncThing, or any synchronization tool to keep your configs in sync between your laptop and desktop without carrying around gigabytes of useless cache or machine-specific data. For system administrators, it simplifies management. You can set system-wide defaults and /etc/xdg that users can override. You can write scripts that back up user configurations without needing to know the specifics of every application. You can implement disk quotas that treat cache differently from real data. But beyond the practical benefits, there's something philosophically important here. XDG represents the open-source community's ability to self-organize and create standards without a central authority mandating them. No one forced anyone to adopt XDG. There's no XDG police enforcing compliance. It succeeded purely because it was a good idea that solved a real problem. And I would add that it seems to have worked quite well, because looking at the history, there haven't really been any major conflicts or friction in the adoption of this standard. When standards make sense and solve real problems, people adopt them voluntarily. That's the open source way at its best. The story of XDG is fundamentally the story of how changing established habits takes time, even when the change is objectively better. It's the story of how a standard, however well designed, is worth little if no one adopts it. And it's the story of how persistence and good design eventually win out. After 22 years, XDG is more relevant than ever. More and more applications adopt it. New generations of developers take it for granted. They learn about it early and just use it naturally. The standard has evolved to meet new needs without losing its core simplicity. And when even Firefox, after 21 years, finally complies, you understand that perhaps, slowly but surely, chaos is giving way to order. Every year, a few more applications adopt the standard. Every year, home directories get a little cleaner. It's a reminder that good ideas in software development take time to propagate. Standards aren't adopted overnight, but if the standard solves a real problem and the solution is well designed, it will eventually win, even if it takes 2 decades. Next time you open a terminal, take a look at /.config, /.cache, and /.local/share. Notice how many applications are doing things the right way. And if you still find old .directories that don't respect the standard, well, give them time. Maybe just another 20 years. After all, we waited 21 years for Firefox. What's a little more patience for the rest of the ecosystem?